Today's video lesson is going to be about writing linear equations. Hopefully you remember doing this in your Algebra 1 class. It is a very important concept because it is something you're going to do for the rest of your math career. You'll do it in Algebra 2, pre-calculus, and in calculus we do it all the time. So it's very important that you're familiar with linear equations and how to write them. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to read what's on the smartboard about writing linear equations. So you can pause the screen and just take a minute to read the notes there on the board. Okay, so now that you've had time to remember what a linear equation is by reading this information, let's get to solving and writing some equations. The things I'd like to point out are the y-intercept, which is the value of y when x is equal to 0. So when the equation is written as the form in this chart, which is y equals mx plus b form, the b is the y-intercept, and the m is the slope. And of course, we talked about slope in the first semester. Hopefully everybody remembers how to calculate slope. Change in y over the change in x, or rise over run. So you can see some colored lines there that match the equation. So if the slope is 3 and the y-intercept is 2, here's the y-axis. So here's the y-intercept of 2, slope of 3 means you go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So this blue line is the first equation. The second one is 2x minus 1. The y-intercept is negative 1. The slope is 2, up 2 over 1. So that is the red line. The third one, the y-intercept is 4. The slope is negative 3. So let's look 1, 2, 3, 4. Slope negative 3, meaning you're going to count down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So that is the yellow line. And then the last one, the y-intercept is negative 5. That's the number by itself. The slope is 3 over 2. So if we go down to negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The slope of 3, 1, 2, 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. That means the green line matches that equation. Okay, so now we're going to try to write some equations. Find the equation of line AB from the graph. The first thing I want you to notice is that point A, because the x value is 0, the y-coordinate of negative 2 will be the y-intercept. So you're not going to have to solve for the y-intercept. It's given to you by that coordinate point. So we need to calculate the slope. I am going to use point B as my x1, y1 coordinate point, and I will use point A as my x2, y2 coordinate point. So the slope will be 1 minus a negative 2 over 4 minus 0. So my slope is 3/4. Since the equation that we're going to use today, and there are other equations of lines, but we're going to stick with y equals mx plus b at this stage. Notice, because it's linear, the y exponent is 1 and the x exponent is 1. Degree of 1 of both your variables there. That's how you know it's linear. So now we just need to fill in our information. We've calculated the slope to be 3/4 and we calculated the y-intercept to be -2. So we have written the equation of the line that goes with those two coordinate points. Okay, it's not always that easy because you're not always given the y-intercept. So what happens when you're not given the y-intercept? Like this example here. Now it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, that it's going to occur at 4. But because that coordinate point's not given, we want to make sure. So we're going to write the equation of the line that contains these 2 points. I will use point C to be x1, y1. I will use point D to be x2, y2. So I'm going to calculate the slope, 6 minus 3 over 4 minus a -2. So my slope is 1/2. I'm not sure on the y-intercept. It looks like it's going through the coordinate point 0, 4, but we don't want to assume. So I'm going to write the equation y equals mx plus b. I will fill in the m amount, which we calculated to be 1/2, but I still need to solve for b. I have 2 coordinate points. I'm going to use my x1, y1, so I'm going to substitute in 6 for y and 4 for x. That way I can solve for b. So 6 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2 from both sides, so 4 equals b. I now use that value and write the equation of my line. Y equals 1/2 x plus 4. So we will write, by looking at the graph and counting up to 4, and so we can write the equation. So y equals mx plus b, in this case, is 1/2 x plus 4. The last example I'm going to show you is a little bit more complicated. We want to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the segment with endpoints 2, 9 and 4, -3. But we want to find the equation of this line here. It is the perpendicular bisector. Because we know it's the perpendicular bisector, we know that we have 90 degrees here, and we also know it's dividing this segment into 2 equal parts. So we don't know a point on the perpendicular bisector, but we know this point here is on both the perpendicular bisector and the line that's the segment that's being bisected. So that point has to be the midpoint between these 2 coordinates. So I need to find the midpoint between 2, 9 and -4, -3. How do we calculate midpoint? x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. So in this case, that means 2 plus a -4 over 2, comma, 9 plus a -3 over 2, which means our midpoint is -1, comma, 3. So the coordinate point right here on our graph is -1, comma, 3. So now we have a point on the line that we want to write the equation of. We don't know another point on it, and we still need to know the slope. But because it's perpendicular, if we find the slope between -4, -3, and 2, 9, we can use the negative reciprocal. So I am going to calculate the slope. I will use -4, -3 as x1, y1, and 2, 9 as x2, y2. So that means I'm going to have -3 minus 9 over -4 minus 2, or a slope of 2. So the slope of this line here gives 2. So the perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal, so that means the slope of the line we want to write the equation of is negative 1/2. So y will equal negative 1/2 x plus b. Remember that lines that go down the hill will have negative slope. Lines that go up the hill will have positive slope. So now I still need to solve for b. I have my coordinate point of negative 1, 3. So I can plug in 3 for y, negative 1 for x, which means I can solve for b. 3 minus 1/2 will equal b. So 6 over 2 minus 1 over 2 equals b. And 5 over 2 is my b value. The last thing I'm going to do is write the equation. My slope was negative 1/2 x plus 5/2. That is the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So this line right here is negative 1/2 x plus 5/2. That's your lesson for today. I hope you took good notes. I will see you in class.